Bonjour people and welcome back to another Transformers review. This time we are looking at Age of Extinction Deluxe Class Crosshairs. Now Crosshairs here turns into a licensed 2014 Chevrolet C7 Corvette Stingray. Ain't that a mouthful? And he's nice to look at, but if you remember in a previous review I talked about the Age of Extinction toy line and I completely roasted it because it's not good. Only Evasion Mode Optimus and the Black Bumblebee from that toy line, I think, are the only good ones. Crosshairs here is not an example of a good one, unfortunately. He's got many things, many obvious things when we get to robot mode, which I am not a fan of. But vehicle mode looks nice at least. We've got this lovely green paint going all throughout the top of the car here. And it starts to blend into a really actually stunningly nice black pattern along the side here. The black continues along the top and the top here. The spoiler's all in black. The blending of a nice pattern work continues on the back there. You have an Autobot symbol on the sides and the hubcaps of the wheels are nicely painted silver. Clear plastic windows, you can have a look inside. There's no seat detailing. What you see there at the top of his legs, but actually in reality all of this is clear plastic. This has just been painted to look like it's not, and if you know Transformers and you know clear plastic, that's a big no-no. They don't go well together. It's very brittle, prone to breaking, and fortunately this guy hasn't had any damage yet, but I wouldn't put it past him in the future. Now you can see one of the big problems with this figure, he is a shell former. If you flip him onto the underside here, you can make out his head, his arms, his legs. And you basically have a very good idea as to how he transforms. Now to his credit, weapon storage is pretty interesting. You can see here you've got one gun. He does have other guns, and they are hidden in actually very good and interesting places on the insides of his tailcoats, which we'll come to. But here he is. This is his biggest gun, probably his best gun as well. And yeah, put that off to the side because there's really not a lot to talk about in terms of this weaponry. We will do a quick size comparison in vehicle mode as I have another bot handy. This is Avenger Befallen Sideswipe. He is a Chevrolet as well. And you can see Sideswipe here is the bigger figure in vehicle mode. There we go, that kind of gives you a little bit of a better representation. Sideswipe is bigger. I was going to say better painted, but that's maybe not accurate. So getting on down to the transformation, it's very simple, but it's very clunky as well. First start with Crosshairs, we are going to come here and just, hopefully, we're going to move those bits of the front out of the way and we're going to detach these panels like that. We're going to come to the back now, get him in focus, and we're going to, actually we're going to come to the sides and we're going to unclip them and just bring them down. Like that. Now come to the back and bring that bit up just so it rests there, and you should be able to see him already forming. You want to take his wheels, pull them back and out like so, then take these pieces and fold them at an angle. There we go. Going back to the front, you can pull these bits away and just flare all that stuff out. Fold the feet down like that, rotate at the knee, and then flip these heels out, like so. We can see Crosshairs is basically almost done, but there are some other things that we need to do just to clean him up a little bit. So we're just going to bring his arms up and out of the way for clearance sake. we're going to come under here and we're going to lift these rubber flaps out. Now technically these rubber flaps are part of the trench coat, but we'll come to them in a second. These other guns are stored very snugly just under there. So take them out if you like and dispose of them. They don't do any harm just by sitting there. Now, here's something that I don't think a lot of people realise. All of this is actually on a hinge that you can bring back, and that gives him some more clearance. We are going to just bring his arms out into proper position. Now what you are meant to do, this is what the instructions tell you to do. There are some tabs here on the rubber ends that are meant to go into slots on his chest. Whether you'll be able to make that out, I don't know. But there are slots right there. And what you are meant to do, according to the instructions, is to tab these in. And what it would do is give the look of the trench coat over his torso. Now, will I be able to put this one in entirely? That'll do. So the official look that Hasbro want you to go for is something like this. That looks beyond stupid, and it's one of the things that actually makes the Last Night version of this figure slightly better. It didn't have these pathetically stupid rubber things here. Now granted, it's a trench coat, and you're trying to turn solid metal into this flowy metal material. It doesn't translate well to a toy, especially this first take. It doesn't look good. So what I tend to do, and what many other people tend to do, we keep all of that faff folded back underneath. So after straightening his arms and keeping all of that back kibble folded out on that hinge a bit more, and keeping those rubber bits folded in, this is Crosshairs in his fully transformed robot mode. I mean, it doesn't look awful from the front. From this angle it looks passable, but you can see all of this garbage on his back and you realise this is not a very good figure. Not really. Now, one little thing that he does have over his Last Night counterpart, his paintwork is a lot better than that one. Whilst the Last Night version, it doesn't improve the figure much. I mean, it replaces the rubber things with better waistcoat apparatus. Waistcoat, that's not the right word, but you get what I mean. The Last Night version's paint is shit compared to this guy. What this Crosshairs has going for him, he has a fully painted face, he has a fully painted top of his head with the black and the green. This all looks really nice. Black upper legs, silver body there, coupled with this black that really brings it out more. He looks nicer than his counterpart, but he's a bugger. He's a bugger because of all this kibble, and it just doesn't look nice on him, and the idea of this trench coat does not translate well to him. He has light piping, which we're going to test out now, and unfortunately, oh, there we go, that's not too bad. That's not too bad at all. We'll do articulation before we look at his putting on his guns. His head turns that much and that much to the sides, but it is blocked by his moulding on his shoulders, or his collar rather. In terms of his shoulders, they can do a 360. He can rotate. Technically he could rotate 180, but he is blocked by kibble. He has a double joint at the elbow, which is pretty good, and his wrists can go all the way around. He has nothing at the waist. He can do the splits brilliantly. He can rotate that far the leg and that far the other way. And then his legs can just fall off because they're on little mushroom pegs. That just clips back in. No damage done. He can bend at the knee that far, and then his feet can go up and down for transformation, and there's a little bit of heel articulation if you do want to do that with him. Every time you do anything with him, you've got to just reposition all of this crap around him. These are on hinges, so they can go back and forth like that. So try and just display him as you please. Try to just get him as neat as you possibly can. You're going to have various levels of success with Crosshairs here just because of his design. He has these little pistols as well that accompany that bigger gun that I showed earlier, and they can slot into his hands, but they don't slot in particularly well because the handles are so small. So I'll attempt to do it. There we go. That's in, but it will easily come out. So if you display him in robot mode and you want to give him a weapon, give him that one, because at least it stays in a lot more securely. He feels incredibly cheap. The plastic does not feel very good on him. It feels very hollow and very brittle. Now granted, a lot of that is because clear plastic makes up a lot of the figure, but I believe at the time there were budget cuts going on, Transformers were just becoming cheaper to make, and it does reflect on this guy quite a lot actually. He does not feel as stable of a figure as some of his predecessors and indeed some of his successors. The plastic is cheap. In terms of size comparisons, here he is next to Sideswipe in robot mode. As you can see, deluxe classes of an earlier age kind of dwarf the 2014 deluxe classes. I mean, in terms of their head level, they are practically the same, but Sideswipe has back kibble that makes him technically taller. What we have here is technically a deluxe class. This is Lockdown from Revenge of the Fallen, appropriate considering Lockdown was the villain of Age of Extinction. This is by far the better representation of that character, and yeah, he is technically a deluxe class, but he utterly dwarfs Crosshairs here. In fact, in his normal mode, he is actually the size of a Voyager. And then for another comparison of a 6-inch figure, this is Black Series Bo-Katan from Star Wars, and you can see they scale fairly decently together, but for a 6-inch figure, Crosshairs is slightly small. There we are then, that is Age of Extinction Deluxe Class Crosshairs. Yeah, he's not great, really, and it's all that kibble. It just hinders him severely, hinders what you can do with the figure. Get him at the right angle, he looks fairly nice, and he has better paint applications than his successor figure, but it just does not translate well. So I can't in good conscience actually recommend this guy to you. If you are a completionist and you want every Autobot from the films on your shelf, then by all means get him, but I can't even really recommend this guy over his Last Night version, because at least the Last Night version attempts to fix the horrendous rubber thing that makes the trenchcoat illusion around his torso. This guy does have better paint application than his successor though, so for that reason alone I might say get this guy rather than the Last Night version. But if you want a version of a figure that solves, or at least attempts to solve, a lot of the kibble problems, get the Last Night one, because it solves this bit at the front, and then the Last Night version actually you can fold up all of this a lot more and it looks a lot neater along his back, but it doesn't get rid of all of that at the top and all of this obviously. So that's Crosshairs. Get him if you want, but I would personally skip him. So thank you everybody so much for stopping by and checking out this video. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and share it around to help out the channel, and until the next time, see you all later.